Welcome back, everybody, to the Cancel for Maintenance podcast. If this is your first time joining us, we are a podcast that takes a behind-the-scenes look into the gritty, non-glamorous life of aviation maintenance. We share some laughs, impart some wisdom, all in hopes to give you that split seconds relief in your day that can prevent a mishap. I am your host, Six.
I'm MVP.
And our third host, Shoreline, is in the back fidgeting with his widgets, making sure our audio is good to go and our faces stay fit for radio. So today's topic, we're revisiting a old episode topic, and that's shift wars, right? Specifically like the frustrations, let's call it that. The frustrations between day shift, night shift, and sometimes grave shift. So when we
sometimes let's just say all shifts all times.
All shift all times, yeah, right. Sometimes you get part of this magic crew that's called stay crew, and you stay there until the job gets done. So fun stuff. In our previous episode, which was way back, I mean, we had the cool lasers to go with it. It sounded like Star Wars, but in our previous episode, we talked about like how there's always some animosity between the shifts, and that's with any industry, really. In some of our examples that we can think of off the top of our head between day shift and night shift is like the lack of appearance of progress. I guess that's the way to nicely say it, right? Like,
yeah, let me put it into layman's terms for the rest of us jabronis. We feel that we did more than the other, or those slack jaws didn't fucking carry their weight. And they were supposed to get something done and didn't fucking do it. So now you have to do it in a compressed amount of time.
Yes. I love it. That's exactly it. Right.
They didn't put a little hate behind it.
Right. Or they didn't document something properly. So it basically meant like they didn't do it. Right. In our line of work, documentation means like 80% of the work. So in this one organization we were with, we had one shift who was very notorious for just doing the work and then not signing it off until very, very later. But sometimes very, very later is at end of shift and then they forget to do it, or they're just such in a hurry to leave that they don't do it. And we go out to the planes and see what we needed to do, and it looks all buttoned up and good to go, but there's no paperwork to show for it. So like evidence suggests that they didn't do shit about it. So like, here we go, doubling work and redoing it. And so here comes that same shift again the following day, flipping their wigs like, what the fuck? Why did you guys like do this and that? We already did it. All you had to do was just like turn it and fly it. I'm like, well, that would have been nice to know had you freaking signed it off or wrote it down somewhere that you did it. But there was no logbook entry. There was no like sticky note that said you did it. There was no nothing. And of course, once you guys leave work, there's no calling you and asking you what the hell you did. So here we are. Thanks a lot, dicks.
So what do you do the next day when that crew comes in? What's there waiting on their desk is a pack of crayons and a coloring book. And then you say, hey, you fucked up the documentation last night, so we feel like this is more of your speed for documentation, you know. And then it just compounds from there.
Yes. Or what gets me the most, well, I think I've experienced this more in the civilian world than anything, is when something goes missing during one shift, like a tool, a piece of gear, something goes missing, and then but it's like towards the end of their shift, so they just kind of like, hey, by the way, and then just dip. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like, what am I looking for? What is it? Where was it? Like, okay. And oh, by the way, they didn't fill out the missing tool or missing part report or something like that, like whatever your accountability forms are called in your areas, but they forgot to fill that out too. So you're like working from scratch. Like, well, apparently something's missing, but I don't know who, what, when, where, why. So everyone just go out there and look for something that shouldn't be there. You know?
Yeah. And then that's where the hate gets enveloped. What did you guys do? We spent 4.5 hours looking for a tool that turns out someone had in their pocket. But yeah. So what do you do then? That individual who took that tool home, You go and you put zip ties on their drive shaft. What else have we done to people? Tied them, duct tape them to a chair, left them in a dark corner.
Or we hide a bunch of stuff that belongs to them.
Yeah, that's a big one. Hide a bunch of stuff. Oh, what did we do overseas one time? Oh man, they left their hat laying on the desk. So we put their hat, baseball cap inside of a hard hat, and then filled it with water and put it in the freezer. So their hat was in a large block of ice.
Yes.
Oh, we also got the scissor lift and went as high as it would go in the hangar and zip tied their radio to a beam up in the rafters, just loud enough that when a radio call was made, you could just barely hear
it. and that's another thing nuts. Too, between the shift wars too, or let's call it the shift wars, is the shift to shift pranking, right? Example is the stuff that MVP has said, or like someone leaves stuff. Another one is like, say they take something from another shop from a different shift, like this one unit I was with, like it was like a game between shifts to see what they can steal from the other shop. Like this one shop had a John Wayne poster of like him in this one Marine movie, old black and white movie. It was like Sands of Iwo Jima, I believe that's what it was. But it had a picture. It was like a picture of John Wayne in that movie. And this other shop from a different shift would always try to steal that picture. And it started to become like this weird college football battle kind of thing where like who can keep the picture, or who can keep whatever object they stole for X amount of time before they find out it was them. And that's when it kind of started. That's when animosity kind of gets out of control, where like people will start doing all sorts of over the top pranks to kind of get it back, or be as like a warning or something like that. You know, like they'll snatch one of the new guys and tape them up and kind of put like this stupid like threat note on them, like we want our painting back or some shit. You know, or another one is when it kind of gets a little unprofessional. Like we had one shift who we have like a stacked flight schedule. Like these flights have to get out at this time on this ready line or whatever. But the shift prior wouldn't like prep the planes in the right way for us to make that schedule happen. So like as a mode of revenge, whenever they have flights later in the day or whatever that shift is, we would bury them towards the back end. So they have to like dump everything out and waste all their time. So now they understand the frustration of having to freaking go through those motions.
So one of the things that used to happen to us a lot, right? So at the end of the week, swing shift is always the last one on duty, or second shift or whatever you want to call it. But typically like the 3 to 11 shift, we'd be the last ones on duty, and habitually every week, they would leave the whole flight line full. You know, we come in and just every spot had a bird on it, and you were like, oh my God, all of these? And you come in like, how much of these did stuff today? These 2 did testing, and those 2 did flights. So nothing else like was testing, flying, anything. No, we just got them out of the hangar. Why did we take them out of the hangar? And then you're like, well, you know, oftentimes management's just like, I want to show a full flight line so it looks like we're really doing stuff. Just wasted time.
Oh my God.
Okay, all right. So we're like, hey, can you guys put some of these away and help us out? Because our crew was always much smaller than Days, you know. And we're like, hey, can you put some of those away for us? Because 3 of our guys got to go jump on a late flight, and 2 more have got to go over to this testing effort that's continuing. That only leaves like us with 4 guys, to move aircraft right now. So can you help us out? And dude, it was like watching you. It was like Wile E. Roadrunner, right? When he takes off and there's that line of dust behind him. Yeah, that's what it was like. Them all heading towards the door.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I got you. Let's see what the old Monday flight schedule looks like. And we would bury those things in the back, in the middle. If it was only opened on one side, we buried them in the back. If it was open on both ends, we buried them in the middle. So no matter which direction you go, you had to move them. And then oftentimes we would even like stack them close to the wall and then stack ones in front of it. So you couldn't even skate it out of the way if you had to. Like, oh man, yeah, we above and beyond burying those things.
Hell yeah. Or how about this? Like your shop is very small, right? Like it's very small, but you do a lot of road trips, and you're air quote lead. You go, but you have to go on a road trip for XYZ, and then you come back, and you don't know where anything is because no one left any proper log of whatever things they were doing. They didn't keep a log of what went out, what came in. So like you're sitting here like, what the fuck is going on here, right? That's a little bit more into like shit, like one shift, multiple road trips, but similar feels. Like I feel like I exist on this different shift plane than you, and then I come back to try to get myself back together, and then since you being one of the more senior individuals who know how to run shows or run a department, you come back and you kind of left them to their will, and they either didn't do it or just felt they didn't have to because mommy's not watching, and everything's just fucking everywhere. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, where are we right now? Yeah. And that kind of goes into like what we were saying from the previous or earlier was like, we're going to have to do double the work because things weren't documented properly. We'd have to do another reinspect or a once over because we don't know if you did it right the first time, or there wasn't a sign off saying that it was done correctly, or like we were saying, like things got moved around and we don't know where they're at. I'm like, okay, let's go take all this extra time to go fish them out somewhere, right? Or this was actually a big frustration from one of our patrons. Is he's a night shift person, but he's also like a on tap instructor. Like what do they call? What some organizations call them? They call them certifiers. They call them certifiers.
Yeah.
So, but all the classes for certifying happens on days or on the morning shift. So how the hell does that work out? Like you're on the night shift because you're the only one technically qualified to run that shift, but you're also the only certifier in the area. So all your certification classes have to happen in the daytime. I don't get it. the math ain't mathing.
Right.
And so to that level of frustration, that really pisses me off because like when you're nights and you got to do stuff on the day shift, you expect them to have their stuff in line, right? Like this is the class or this is what needs to happen. Here's all the people that need to do it, to have it done with you. And they're pretty much ready and waiting for you. So when you show up, right, like, okay, let's just bang this out and call it good so I can go back home and go to sleep. And then you show up, I'm like, oh, we thought you were going to set up the class. We thought you were going to do this. Like, time the fuck out. No. Right? Like, or you do set up the class. You say, hey, open roster, open this and that. And then nobody shows up. Like, well, I just wasted my fucking time. So you go back to your place of residence to prepare for the shift the following night. And then everyone starts bitching a fit. Like, yo, what the fuck? Like, I thought you guys were doing this class today. Like, excuse me?
Yeah. Or here's my favorite one, right? You have a certain certification, and so you have to go and buy off a specific task at the end of the day, or after the job's done.
Yes.
But 9 times out of 10, you'll say in the morning meeting, like, "Hey, let's jump on this job early because it's a big job. Let's start as early as possible so we can get it bought off and completed before the end of the day." But what do they always do? They always wait until 2:00 in the afternoon to start it, and then they just hand off the work to the next crew coming on, and then you're sitting there going, I don't have a replacement with this certification. It's only me and one other guy, and the other guy is on the road, and so you're screwed. And so then you're sitting there at 6:00 at night, 7:00 at night, trying to get this job done and bought off for the next day's flight, and everybody else who screwed you over, even though you brought it up. Oh my God, that happens so often. So what do I do? What have I done now, right? And I'm speaking from very recent personal experience. So what I've directed, my crew to do now is hey, we brought it up in the morning. If they wait till 2 in the afternoon, okay, I guess we'll just do it tomorrow then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what? No, we're going to do it tonight. Yeah, I'm not staying. So I asked you to prioritize that this morning. You chose to ignore me, so now we can buy it off tomorrow.
Yes. Or that was something we had to set boundaries on ourselves. Like they would so a lot of what I do is like we do a lot of inspections and sign offs, kind of like the final IA sign off, let's call it that, right? Or inspection authority sign off. Anyways, like we would tell them like, hey man, like our final call for any of those type of inspections is this time. So, and the reason why is because of all the prep we have to do and all the sign-offs we have to do and all the paperwork that follows after it. It's going to take a while. So if you call us anytime after that, just know it's probably not going to happen. And people will bitch a huge fit. Like, well, can't you guys just stay late? Can't you guys just do that? I'm like, no, absolutely not. Because you know that this is our cutoff. And if you guys are just taking your sweet ass time to get things rolling because you just don't feel like working today, that's on you, right? Now, vice versa, if they're really actually grinding something out and then just really trying to put pedal to the metal to get things rolling, then we get it, right? But we can kind of see that when they're doing that, because if they say, hey, this is our number one priority, this has to happen, and you go down there to wherever they're doing the work and it's damn near empty, like 2/3 of the day, I'm like, oh, I guess it's not that important after all, and keep on trucking by. And then they come screaming, oh my God, we need this to happen. Like, pass it on to the next shift, bro. Like, or wait until tomorrow when you guys are actually on your A game, because we took a walk and we saw you and you guys weren't doing shit. So have fun with that. Right? That's a little bit more of extreme from what MVP was said, but that's kind of sort of what happens. And it sounds pretty lazy. It sounds pretty sketch, or it sounds pretty arrogant, but people do that. And a lot of times too, they kind of milk their project or milk their work because either A, they just don't feel like working that day, they're tired, they're burned out, or they're just flat out lazy, right? There are people like that who just are just fucking lazy. They'll take the easiest jobs possible and take all fucking day, like changing out the bolts from seat upholstery, or checking oil levels. It's like the easiest shit ever, but they take all damn day to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Weren't you just checking the oil levels? You have like 30 minutes post shutdown to check those. How come it's taking you 4 hours? Oh, well, I had to service them and then I had to do the paperwork. And then I'm like, it's okay. So let me just be lenient and then say, what did you do for the other 3 hours?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yes.
Yeah. So then what do you do? Then the shift war side of it comes in where, okay, they only wanted to take care of the easy stuff. Got it. We're going to do that too. So what did you guys get done last night? We only took care of these 3 really actually low level things. Well, those are all diagonal write-ups. Yeah. I mean, and what about the downing discrepancies? Man, sorry. We didn't have, that's more of an engineering problem, and you guys have the engineering support on your shift. So we just let it go. Oh no, there was guidance there. Man, sorry. I forgot. I missed the email. My bad. It just gets really to the point where, yeah, you're screwing over the other guys who screwed you over, but eventually it gets to a point where it's just nothing. It's just an endless vicious circle of nothing happening.
Yeah, no shit. And just like, and this is like the most negative side of aviation, where let's just put it that way. Every industry has something like that. This is like the absolute most negative. Does this happen every single time? It comes and goes in waves, right? Like something like this happens, we crack the whip on whoever it is. It turns out good for a little bit, and then it comes back again. And usually when the wave does come back, it's because someone new is in the mix, or some people left for whatever reason, like a road trip or whatever. And so the people there are just kind of left to their own vices. They either don't know how to run things, it's their first time running things, or they just flat out lazy and they're the senior most person there. So that's kind of like the driver behind this. It's not just because people like just continually like to fuck up or continue to like just fucking people over. And sometimes, that kind of shows signs of the burnout piece of something we were talking about prior. Like Sometimes you just get tired of grinding 100% all the time, every time, and not getting any feedback or something like that for it. So you're just like, you know what? I'm gonna act my wage. I'm just gonna not do this no more, or I'm not gonna go 100% all the time, every time. I'm just gonna do whatever I'm told to do and nothing more. And so that kind of generates that wave as well. So don't just for everyone listening, please don't think we're just like, wow, these guys are a bunch of fucked up individuals. They should all be fired. You know, I mean, there are people like that who do deserve it, but for the most part, a lot of this is symptomatic of something bigger. And usually the case is like, you know what, I'm just gonna act my wage. Like I'm tired of it. I'm
Yeah, they
tired
call it
of
soft quitting.
soft quitting. That's it. That's exactly it. Soft quitting. Um, so that could be a symptom of that. And example is like with our one patron with the night shift job, but the day shift certifying. Eventually, one of those factors is going to crack. Like it's either going to suffer technically for doing his job because he's too busy worrying about the certifying stuff on the day side, or the day side stuff is going to slide because he's too busy working the technical side. And eventually, both of those is going to make the individual like really dial down or really kind of hinder his progress as a person and as a professional. So like it's one of those pick and choose, like how bad do you want to get poisoned? So
Yeah.
with all that, you know what I mean? Like
Well, or it could, hey, here's another one, right? How many times have you seen this? Somebody went up for a promotion, so they were actually, killing it and working their ass off, and then they get passed over. So then they start screwing over the other shifts, but it's really it's not a dig at the other shifts, it's a dig at management. You know, that's I think, as you talk about the deeper issues, I think that's probably one of them right there.
yeah, no shit. Ah, man. So so what can we do, man, to help fix a lot of this stuff? Well, first off, like it starts out with the communication. Communication is a huge thing, right? If all else fails, we understand shifts can be very hectic. It can be very stressful. It can be very like in your face and go 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 all the time. So that communication piece is everything. Even if you don't sign off whatever you're doing or you don't document every little thing, just have some form of communication that says like a text or a sticky note, something like, "Hey, we did this. Pick up where this is where we left off. Pick up from there." Or, "Hey, we had trouble with this aircraft. We don't have time to do the paperwork, but here's where we left off." Right? Or if your job will allow you to, okay, this is a big if your job will allow you to show up a little bit early and kind of get the down low from the outgoing shift, right? And the reason why we say that is because some organizations, especially whatever state you're in, they'll get real pissed if you show up before your scheduled time frame. I think there's a grace period of when you can show up, but they'll get real pissed about it, and sometimes that will lead to some HR matters which you don't want to deal with. So there's that. The communication piece is definitely a big one.
I would say control what you can control. And what that is that is your reputation and your name. Don't be, if you're one of those that is continually starting or instigating a shift war, your name is going to be kind of synonymous with not a producer of work. What do they call them? Fire starters, problem children, XYZ. So do your best to I know it's super frustrating. Believe me, I know. Do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. But it can be very easy to get sucked into that realm of, to hell with those guys. Nah, man, just continue, put your head down, grind through it, control what you control. And if you didn't get anything done because you were reliant upon, another entity, like say you're a mech who had to, you're running a test, and your avionics guy decided he didn't want to be very productive that day. I mean, hey, you were set up and you were ready to go. Let that guy take the heat for that kind of stuff. Don't go out of your way to try to screw them over, because you're gonna, at the end of the day, when somebody at the top is screaming why the test didn't get done, they're going to go, well, you and you obviously weren't getting along because you were bickering and arguing and trying to undermine one another. That's why it didn't get done. Don't be like, hey, make it so where they say, well, so-and-so had everything set up and ready to go, so where was the other people at? And let their own management answer for that.
Yes.
One. Just control what you can control.
Exactly.
And don't sweat the small stuff.
Yes.
And it's all small stuff.
Yes, exactly. That was exactly what I was going to say. And don't sweat the small stuff because, I mean, it happens, right? And then you also got to be able to give yourself some grace on that, where we're still learning that our damn selves. Like, MVP said it best. Like, if it falls out of your realm of control, if it falls out of your realm of being able to do something about it, that's you. I mean, definitely communicate that so people will be aware of it. But if you can't do anything about it, you can't do anything about it. And sometimes it helps if you don't try to go so far out of your way to make it happen that it ends up making a situation worse, right? Like trying to figure out the answer, trying to push buttons, and mechs when they especially when mechs try to make things happen, they push buttons a little too hard for some people's liking, and it starts turning into this huge animosity. We're like, well, we're never gonna do shit with the mechs whenever you come asking because of this one particular incident or this one particular scenario. So definitely that. And then also just have a bit of an understanding that, hey, maybe that other shift or that other person might just be going through some shit, right? I would definitely address that in some way, shape, or form, in whichever way is the most professional to you. Like, ask their manager, tell their shift lead or some shit, like, hey, something's going on. It's been slacking. Can you guys help us help you, kind of thing, and go from there. But and all things considering, there will be some pranks made between shifts, and we feel like that's organic to any good shop or any good department where they kind of have a little bit of camaraderie with each other to prank each other and have a little bit of fun at work. Because if we just did all seriousness all the time, it's gonna crack eventually, and then some shit's gonna roll downhill. And plus, it makes for a really, really, really boring day. Just saying. So having that a little bit of wiggle room to mess around with each other like that is kind of nice, and it's kind of internal to what makes things fun. But some of these things can get a little out of hand. So just give a little bit of leeway for that forgiveness piece.
Yeah.
So. But let us know what you guys think. Like, what's some of your frustrations with shift to shift? What's some of your solutions from those frustrations? What's some things you wish people did more? Which things you people did less of? And what's some of the stuff we said? Like, if we like to elaborate more, or there's more you want to add to it, let us know. Hit us up in the comments on social media. Hit us up on our website or emails. Or you can visit, or you can join Patreon and get on Discord, where we have conversations just like this all the time, every time. Our patrons are so freaking awesome. They challenge our brains like all the time, and they give us topics that really pique our interest. And sometimes it piques us so much that we end up like putting this as an episode, because it's like such good stuff. We feel like everyone should know about it. Any final thoughts on anything, MVP?
No, I don't think I have too much today. Just trying to think of some scenarios of past shift wars and how they were ultimately handled.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll have to collect my thoughts on those and try to put together something cohesive.
For sure, not a problem. And again, like we said, like this stuff comes in waves. Like, it's great, it's bad, it's great again, it's bad again. And a lot of times it's, like those are indicators of something else going on. It's not necessarily because we flat out hate each other. And usually when we do hate each other, it's because something else is driving the bus on that. So let us know again what you think. And on that note, we thank you all for listening. We will see you all again on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
We would like to take this time to thank our patrons for supporting our show and allowing us to make episodes, maintain our gear, and create merch for all of our listeners. With special thanks to Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Eric Shaw, Dan Schubert, Ryan Frushauer, Kyle Keir, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockhill, and Jennifer Brofer. Thank you all so much for your support and patronage. If you like our show, please support us on Patreon. You'll receive awesome perks like access to our private Discord, discounts and early access to our merch, first glimpse of our comics and other projects, and so much more. You can further support us and show off your prowess as an aircraft specialist by visiting our shop at cancelformaintenance.com. If you like classy or rugged watches, visit our affiliate Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX4MX to save 10% off your total order. If you have suggestions for the show or you'd like to be a guest on the show, send us a line on our contact us section at cancelformaintenance.com, and we'll do what we can to get both your ideas and yourself on the show. Please support us on social media like Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, Instagram at CANX for Maintenance Podcast, or Twitter at CXMX Podcast. Please check out our new comic series on the Tapas app. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on our comics. Let us know what you think. Thank you all so much for your support and listenership, and we will catch you all next time.